Neville Goddard, 1955 lecture. Television talk. KTTV, Los Angeles, California, 1955. All things are possible to the inner man. I remember this TV station. I grew up with it because I grew up here in Southern California. This would be Channel 11. Why do I know that? We had 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. And then we had a little U that gave us a bunch of other stuff, including Little Rascals and Three Stooges. If an action is needed, you must turn to the inner man, and the inner man must do it. A blind girl was in my audience in San Francisco, and she was faced with a problem. Although blind, she was earning a wonderful, wonderful income. But there recently came the rerouting of the buses, and she found herself spending 2.5 hours one way on 3 buses. For being blind, I tell you now, when I say blind, her eyes are removed. There are little plastic eyes when you look into her eyes. They had to remove them years and years ago. So in her predicament, getting off one bus, she must wait and hope that someone is passing by and, seeing her limitations, can help her across the street. So she crossed herself, and after 2 weeks, she could not make it in less than 2.5 hours. And in previous days, when she had only one bus to take, she made it in 15 minutes. So that night, this is what she did. She sat in her living room, and she first of all investigated what it would cost by taxi. That was completely out of the question. She thought in terms of giving up her apartment, but all the things that she thought of rapidly, she couldn't put into effect. She came to the conclusion that going from her place to the place she worked in a car was the only solution. So she couldn't afford a chauffeur, and she couldn't drive, for she was blind, but a car seemed to be the only solution. Seemed to be her only solution. So this is what she did. Sitting in her living room in a nice easy chair, she assumed that she was seated on the front seat of a car. She felt that the person next to her was a man. Then she felt the rhythm of the car. Then she could smell the gasoline. Then she felt the car move. She felt it stop for what she thought would be a red light. Then she felt the car move on. She finally came to the end of her imaginary journey. She turned to her companion and said, "Thank you very much, sir." To which he replied, "The pleasure is all mine." She got out of that car, and then she imagined she heard the door click as she slammed in her imagination the door of the car. And then she walked up the plank leading to her office. The next night she did it all over again. She didn't just do it one time, she did it the next night too. She did it until it seemed to her that she was actually in a car. She could actually see herself in a car, she saw it here, and riding the streets of San Francisco, stopping in front of her office building, getting out, thanking her driver, and then making her way up the ramp. The second night, right after she had done it and given in to the tones of reality, her companion read her the evening paper. And there in the evening paper was the picture of a man who was interested in blind people. Having read the article, she thought she would call him. She looked his name up in the telephone directory, found his name, and called him. He said he was interested in the blind and said, as said in the paper, but this was no time or place to call him. If she would write him a long, detailed letter of the nature of her problem, he would take it under consideration. She sat down and wrote him a letter and explained her problem, simply a problem of transportation. Next day, when he got the letter, he simply read it and put it in his pocket. On his way home, he stopped in at a place where he stops every day before returning to his home, and that happened to be a bar. He stopped in at a bar. He knew the proprietor and had his little martini or whatever he had. And while he was there, he was prompted to tell the blind girl's story. Having told the story, a total stranger, who was a salesman for some liquor house, overheard the story, and he said, "Well, I make a good living and I do nothing for this community. Here is a girl who not only is taking herself off the backs of taxpayers, but in her letter she states she is training 9 other blind people to earn their own living. Here, this girl who should be supported by the taxpayers earns her own living, and she's taught 9 others to earn their living. And I, who earn a wonderful living, I do nothing for our community. I will drive that girl to work. The man who received the letter said, if you, a total stranger, will drive her to work, I, who am interested in the blind and make it my job, I will then take her home. And that was the bargain. Now that's almost 3 years ago. I saw that girl just about 6 months ago, and she told me that it has not failed one day of a 5-day week. 5 days a week, one gentleman picks her up and takes her to her work, and one takes her from home. And one takes her from work to home. 5 days a week, one gentleman picks her up and takes her to work, and one takes her from work to home. And here is the strange part. The very first morning that she drove with one of these men, she turned to him as she got out of the car, and she said, thank you very much, sir. To which he replied, the pleasure is all mine. The identical words that she, in her imagination, had used to make the scene seem natural were used the very first day. It happens every time. You're going to hear verbatim, literally verbatim, what you imagine. You're going to feel like you're watching some kind of cartoon, man. People are going to say exactly the words that you imagined. For those of you who are not new at this, you know what I'm talking about. But it's wonderful when you first hear this, you're like, what? Really? Nah. But when it happens, you're like, oh, yes, really. Now, it was twice, she did it 2 times. It was twice she did it. On the 3rd day, she was being driven to work. I say to you, if she can do it, and if the speaker can do it, you can do it. I have done it a number of times, and I teach others to do it. It is a simple, simple technique. You must learn to believe in the inner man and the reality of what is to you at the moment an invisible realm. This invisible world is not really unreal. It's the most real world imaginable. And the inner man related to it is a far more real being than the outer personality. The outer personality that you cling to and think so much of in this world. Try. These things will never fail. Whenever the action of the inner you corresponds to the action that the outer you must take to appease your desire, that desire will be realized. For this whole wonderful world around us is nothing more than the appeasement of hunger. That's why we built it. We made it to satisfy our longing. You have some intense longing, some wonderful hunger in this world. It may be for a job. It may be an increase of income. It may be some wonderful, harmonious relationship in a home that is now strained. No matter what it is, construct a little act. This action inside that your dream has been realized. Then take that action and inwardly do it over and over and over until it takes on the tones of reality. When to you it seems natural, then you may sleep. But I do believe in not sleeping during the action. In some strange way, it seems to hinder the interval between the doing and the realization of it. Of course, you don't have to sleep, but I have found from experience that if I can fall asleep while I am performing the the action that implies the fulfillment of my dream, that I quickly collapse the time. Going back, I do believe in not sleeping during the action. But over here, I have found from experience that if I can fall asleep while I am performing the action that implies the fulfillment of my dream, that I quickly collapse the time. You have to put in the effort. Construct the imaginary scene and be consciously aware of it becoming natural. You're consciously aware of it until you get this repetitive pattern of it over and over and over, and then it starts to feel natural, and then you go to sleep. You drift to sleep. This girl took maybe 2 days. Although she was driven on the 3rd day, she really only did it 2 nights. Not all day and then all night, 48 hours worth. She did it 2 nights. 2 nights sitting in her living room, she assumed she was in a car. She could smell the gas, the gasoline. She took all of her attention and hallucinated it. You can hallucinate sights, smell, touch. I can take my hand now, place it on this book, and assume that I am fondling something that is not here to be seen by anyone. And so lose myself in it, that to me it seems natural. If I do it until it seems natural and sleep while I'm doing it, do you not think it will become my perception? That's how everyone should live and will eventually live in this world. What's wrong with all of us imagining and creating our abundant lives now? There is nothing wrong with that. This is the beginning, right here, right now. You making this change is the beginning of it. You teaching your friend, you teaching your children is the beginning of all of us doing it consciously. Consciously co-creating, if you want to call it that, consciously creating. It doesn't matter what the words are. Let's don't get stuck on those. We're all aware that our thoughts and our imagination is our creator, and we use our creator to make our life outwardly abundant. Simple. So instead of going out and simply grabbing things that are not yours, or I would say stealing in order to survive, you don't steal to survive with this technique. You die in order to live. You let go of the things that you conceptualize, just drop them, and you simply inwardly see yourself into another state. And seeing yourself right into the situation of your fulfilled desire, you sleep in that state. And so, you know the wisdom of the word, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instructions. We are rehearsed at night in the part that we are playing when we open our eyes in this outer world. And all that we will do, we do under compulsion. For this inner motion is the force by which the outer event is brought to bear. And if you know it, then you just know it. Do it. If you know it, then don't just know it. I misread that, excuse me. If you know it, then don't just know it. Do it. For if you do it, I promise you, you will get the result. But you must apply it. Application is important. Everyone in this world must learn to live by their imagination. And only as you live by imagination can you truly be said to live at all. Now, here in this book of mine, Awakened Imagination, you will find that case history of the blind girl. Read it and apply it. It's also in the playlist, Awakened Imagination. And become the man, the woman that you want to be. You can be anything in this world that you want. You can be anything in this world that you want to be if you know these wonderful promises, accept them, and then test them. You're invited to test them. Come prove me now and see if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing so great there is not room on earth to receive it. That is precisely, exactly what it feels like. It feels like you don't have enough room to receive what you now could not only wish for, but receive. It all of a sudden just feels like there's not enough room. When you can have anything and everything you want, you just need to focus on it. What would you focus on? You can conceive of the impossible state, the impossible to the inner man. All things are possible to the inner man. Wow. Whoa. I mean, that was one slice of a television talk. I don't know how we have it. I don't know where it was found. I happen to have it from, again, Mitch Horowitz's book, The Ideal Realized. These are some sessions that are not on Cool Wisdom. And that one was profound. I mean, wow. 1955 television talk. All things are possible to the inner man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.